If you buy the right car, you can own it for a few years, enjoy it, and then sell it for what you paid for it. You might even make a small profit.
So first in my series of depreciation-free cars, the Alfa Romeo 4C.
I will talk about the cost of owning this car, how much you should pay to buy it, the options it came with, what modifications you can do to it, and what to look out for before you buy it. So how can you own this car for free? Well, the owner bought this car 3 years ago with 24,000 miles on the clock. It's a 2016 plate and he paid £35,000 for it. 3 years later, it's gone up in value. It's now worth £40,000, so made a little bit of a profit there. Obviously, there has been other expenditure, but nothing major's gone wrong with the car. It's just been servicing, really. He says the budget about £1,000 a year for servicing. It's probably fair to say that some cars have a reputation for certain issues that are quite big, and this Alfa's no exception. A lot of people who reviewed the car commented on its terrible handling, the fact that it would tram line, it would catch kind of potholes and camber in the road and dart you off in directions that weren't desirable. And over the years, people have kind of figured out why. This car has almost no caster from the factory. That's, the steering angle of the front wheels. Usually you've got a bit of positive camber so that the wheel will auto-correct and self-correct, but this car doesn't have that. Luckily, there is a fairly cheap fix. For £700, you can get blocks which adjust the caster and a little bit of the camber and make the car a lot more pleasant and predictable to drive. And also changing the tyres from the factory Pirellis to something else. A lot of people choose the Michelin Pilot Sports, makes the car a lot better to drive as well. You do get a few other minor issues. The gearbox ECU can suffer from water ingress. That's a cheap fix for £90. And if you do get any other kind of electrical gremlins creeping in, it's generally due to a battery that's low. So changing the battery for something a bit newer usually sorts those problems out. The whole point of buying this car is to have a good drive, to enjoy the car. There's no point just owning it and never using it. And in that regard, does the car drive as well as it looks? Well, yes. Everything is kind of engineered to be a good driving experience. Got a very solid carbon tub. The amount of stability and stiffness you feel from the driver's seat is great, really. 1.7 litre engine developing 240 horsepower. It's fast. The car's very light, so you don't need to give it much to make it really go. It's got the optional race exhaust, so you can tell it gives a nice sound. It's a very good sounding 4-cylinder engine. Now I'm driving down quite a bumpy country lane, and those fears about the handling and the stability of the car with the Alfa blocks shims installed, no problems at all. There's no tram lining, the car goes where you want it to go. I haven't thought, oh my word, I've got no control of this car. It's actually a very it's a great experience actually. Everything works really well in here to give you a good driving experience. The sound, the engine's great. The steering is not assisted at all, so you get a nice feel. This car only comes in an automatic transmission, but it's a very quick gear change. The engine is very torquey, nice and powerful. Gear changes are nice and sharp. Pedal weight on the feet, brake pedal on the accelerator, very good. Seating position's good. You feel very supported in the chair. The handling is predictable. It's a very good drive. I like the interior. It has no clutter. This car also has 3 modes. It's got the DNA, so you've got a dynamic mode for when you're on track and want to have a bit of fun. You've got the natural mode for kind of normal everyday driving. A is for all weather, so you can use it when it's raining. It will just back everything off a little bit, make the car a little bit safer to drive. Because the car's so light, it doesn't cost that much in fuel. 50 miles per gallon on the motorway. You could argue that some of the aspects that make it great are also probably a bit of a disadvantage. I mean, the engine noise and the exhaust are great, but it is quite loud. but also the seat that's supportive. I do worry that maybe on longer journeys you may find it maybe not as comfortable as you'd like. But again, you don't buy this car for that type of reason. You drive it because it just have a lot of fun. Common modifications on this car are mainly to the engine. For about £1,000 extra, you can get the ECU remapped, which gives you about 40 horsepower more. If you feel that's not enough and want 100 horsepower more, then a turbo rebuild will cost you about £5,000. Apart from that, the only other kind of common performance mods is upgrading the gearbox mount to something a bit stiffer, like polyurethane, and that'll give you a sharper gear change.
So if you've got any suggestions for depreciation-free cars I should be looking into, please leave them in the comments section. And as always, thanks for watching.